Getting into some music news. That's a surprising twist there. We don't really talk about music on this channel enough. Um, but this came out of the Toronto Star. I thought this was kind of interesting. Nickelback faces backlash from Canadians for headlining a mega-friendly U.S. music festival alongside Kid Rock. Kid Rock, Bill Maher's, good friend that arranged the sit-down dinner after the many years that Bill Maher has been trying to bash Donald Trump, calling him a traitor, comparing him to Hitler. All of a sudden, hey, you want to join and have dinner at the White House? Okay, sure. It shows you the rivalry is just absolutely stupid. It shows you it's a circus. It's an act. As Shakespeare said, the world's a stage and we are just merely players. But Nickelback is facing more backlash than already previously. So the Toronto Star states, Nickelback has never cared if you like them. In fact, the perennial popular Canadian hard rock titans have in recent years embraced their reputation as the world's most hated band. And frankly, just in my personal opinion, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. Because for me personally, I have no problem with Nickelback. They have some interesting songs, actually. I don't mind them. There's lots of other people that I could put as the world's most hated musicians. One in particular came from Stratford, Ontario. I think you know who I'm talking about. No offense. But I never understood the backlash of Nickelback. I never understood the hatred. People thought it was cool to hate them. And now they're getting even more hate for apparently this reason. It's so crazy. But that hasn't stopped music fans from the north of the 49th parallel from bristling at the band's decision to join note Donald Trump booster Kid Rock as co-headliner for Rock the Country, a massive U.S. rock festival described as a celebration of the country's God-fearing patriots. If you hated Nickelback before, how about now that they're doing a mega-friendly festival tour? One Laps fan wrote on X. Rock the Country is more than just a festival, the event's website reads. It's a gathering for the true heart of America. It's where hardworking, God-fearing patriots unite over the open skies, celebrating the freedom we hold dear and the power of live music to connect us all. The tour, which kicked off in April and continues into July, includes 10 stops in 10 small U.S. towns. In addition to Nickelback and Kid Rock, the lineup features classic rock legends Leonard Skinner, Sweet Home Alabama. That's right, Leonard Skinner, conservative renegade Hank Williams Jr., and a mega regular Lee Greenwald, who recently collaborated with Trump to publish the God Bless America, God Bless the USA Bible. Oh my God. Literally. Oh my God. I know it's been a long while since I've attended Sunday school and heard an actual church sermon, but I remember specifically, I think there was something about Jesus hating money changers, and it just seems like all the time I'm just seeing this as a marketing gimmick. Like, oh, buy a Bible from Donald Trump and Lee Greenwald. Oh, come to a rock concert. We're going to talk about Jesus. Are you going to feed the children? Not really. Are you going to heal the sick? Are you going to do... And not really. But we're going to trigger the libs. We're going to trigger the haters. Oh, man. Trump to publish the God Bless the USA Bible, available for $59.99. Wow. They make it cheaper in China. As an investor would say, Kevin O'Leary would say that. You can make it cheaper in China. They have the parts. They have the people. You can make it cheaper. Early 2000s one-hit wonder Afro Man will also be there for some reason. I don't even know who that is. Nickelback seems to be the only Canadian act in the lineup. We're really looking forward to hitting the road and visiting some amazing towns, especially in places we never played before. There's something special about connecting with fans in these communities, and we're ready to bring our best and truly rock the country. Can't wait to see you all there. Nickelback bassist Michael Kroger said in a statement. Or do you say Kruger? I think it's pronounced Kroger. A representative for Nickelback did not immediately respond to the Star's request for comment. Nickelback, the post-grunge pride of Hannah, Atlanta, is not known for being a political band, though its journeyman, no frills approach to hard rock seems to resonate with a certain conservative sensibility. But the decision to align themselves with the mega adjacent festival in the midst of an unpopular trade war that has sparked a resurgence of Canadian pride is clearly not landing with all their fans. So to me, it just seems like a lot of hoopla. It seems like a lot of hoopla for a band that is already hated for a numerous amount of reasons that I don't understand. But considering that Nickelback is welcoming them to play at concert venues, it's just crazy. It's just a lot of gobbledygook. It's a lot of hoopla. It's just a circus. Like, you could hate you could have an opinion on this concert tour. You could have an opinion on certain performers. But it just seems like Nickelback just wants to perform to people that will not boo at them constantly. That they're just looking for a crowd, they're looking to audition, and when you're a band that's struggling, you go where the crowds are. You go where you can play music. And sometimes it is at a God-fearing concert in the midst of a trade war. But the mainstream media, and Toronto Star in this case, is trying to bring up that fear, bring up that anger, manufacture consent to be angry at Nickelback more. And it really just doesn't make sense. Now we can disown them, one user wrote on X. Add this to the long list of reasons to hate Nickelback, another wrote, adding the hashtag Never51. Nickelback formed in 1995 and released their debut a year later. They exploded in popularity with their release of 2001's colossal Silver Side Up, which sold over 10 million records. The album spawned countless imitators, giving rise to the derogatory but somehow perfectly amped term butt rock. It noted in a recent story on the most important Canadian albums of the 2000s. And yet, despite the derision they face, Nickelback maintained its immense popularity amongst its fiercely loyal, beer-swilling fan base. I'm assuming this author also hates Nickelback for some reason. To this day, Nickelback's unwavering resilience feels like a giant middle finger to the hipsters and the haters. As of 2005, the band has 10 albums under its belt, and they've sold over 50 million records worldwide. But given the current aversion to Donald Trump among most Canadians, their reputation even among their loyal fans might be a risk. Just ask Wayne Gretzky. So it seems like this is a curse. Like, if you give Donald Trump, even if he does something right, and I know Donald Trump has a lot of criticism, there's a lot of things I go after him on constantly, but even when Donald Trump is kind of on the right, like when we first mentioned about the trade war and put that notion out that, hey, we're considering putting tariffs on Canadians, he mentioned about the border. He mentioned about fentanyl, which I found that impressive because no Canadian politician in that space had that same regard. So I gave credit to Donald Trump on that, and people slammed me for it. People slammed me for that by saying, oh, now you support Donald Trump in this. No, I don't. I'm giving credit to the fact that Donald Trump, being a broken clock, he is right in one instance by pointing out that our border security is flawed, that we have mass migration problems, and we have fentanyl crisis. But as soon as someone mentions that, you get struck with this curse. Look at Wayne Gretzky. Look at so many other people, so many other Canadians that are well beloved, all because they have a little appreciation or sometimes maybe give a bit of credit to the orange man that they fear so much on CBC News. So here's the poster here. Rock the Country. Kid Rock, Nickelback, Hank Williams, Tracy Lawrence. Again, this seems like just an average concert tour. I don't know why people are just getting anger and upset. Like, they're playing in Florida. They're serving those people. They're serving those crowds. I don't understand the necessary anger towards Nickelback on this. Now, let's put the shoe on the other foot for a second and focus on another Canadian icon, Neil Young. Now, you remember Neil Young was fiercely opposed to people like Joe Rogan and people that were considered anti-vaxxers who were actually on the right side of COVID. And he threatened to, if Spotify didn't take off Joe Rogan, he was threatening to pull his music out. He did, and then sold off his music to a third-party investment firm. And he betrayed his own base by doing that. He betrayed his own base. So here's Neil Young, once again, showing that even when you're dressed like a hippie, a post-Vietnam hippie, you're not actually designated for your people. So Neil Young attacks Elon Musk. If you're a fascist, get a Tesla. It's electric. It doesn't matter. So he's performing at a concert, and he's deliberately changing the lyrics to push his own personal vendetta at Donald Trump and Elon Musk. We saw that happen with Green Day at New Year's Eve. We've seen this with other bands. It's just absolutely absurd. Like, why? People paid money to just hear you sing a song. Don't change the lyrics because you have a personal grouch match with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And notice how in the lyrics, he's not talking about H-1B visas. He's not talking about the tariffs. He's just talking about, oh, electric vehicle because it's Elon Musk. You're a fascist. Well, doesn't Neil Young also support just electric vehicles in general? So it's just an absolute hypocrisy here. And here's him performing with the new changed lyrics. Listen.
If you're a fascist, get a Tesla. It's electric. It doesn't matter. If you're a Democrat, taste your freedom. Get whatever you want. Taste your freedom. Now China's winning. They're building fleet. Some days are like that. It doesn't matter. Come on.
I'm sorry. How is that enjoyable? How is that enjoyable to see this old man standing on stage, screaming at the top of his lungs, "You're a fascist! You're a fascist! You buy an electric vehicle, it doesn't matter." Again, this is someone who poses himself as like a post-war hippie. You could see the getup that he has on there. He has his songs that are very folk-like. And yet, he is a corporate stooge. He sold his own audience out. He sold himself out. And now he's on stage promoting his agenda, not for the right reasons to hate Elon Musk and Donald Trump, but just because the fact that, oh, the TV told me to hate them. They told me to hate Tesla. Not because I actually hate electric vehicles or not the fact that I actually give a damn about Tesla as a company, but because the TV told me to hate Elon Musk. Because he's a different billionaire than Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. When's the last time Neil Young sang a hate song at them? Just saying. When's the last time Neil Young sang a song about the entire status quo of why we got Donald Trump? He doesn't. Because he doesn't know. And he doesn't want to know. He's completely ignorant on purpose. And it really shows. It really shows when you're screaming on stage. And it's so hypocritical because Donald Trump, this is back in 2015. A few months ago, Neil Young came to my office looking for dollars on an audio deal and called me last week to go to his concert. So again, all these people that scream the loudest about how much they hate Trump, you are goddamn hypocrites. You are goddamn hypocrites, because the people that yelled and screamed the loudest about Donald Trump being a politician adored him when he was a reality star, adored him when he was a real estate tycoon. When everyone loved him so much, I despised him. And I don't like him much as a politician, but I'm giving credit to the fact that Donald Trump is that ugly face to the establishment that's eroding people. That's completely captured society and turning it downwind. So now here's Neil Young, after singing about Elon Musk and you're a fascist. Back in 2015, they were good pals. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? So here's the BBC. So I'm just going to show you how much of a hypocrite Neil Young is. And there he is on stage with his hat again, looking like a hippie. That's a costume, because deep down he's a corporate shill. So BBC, Neil Young to put his music back on Spotify after boycott with Joe Rogan. So because Joe Rogan invited Dr. Robert Malone, Dr. Pierre Corey, had a bunch of physicians and people that were providing a counter narrative to the COVID vaccine, Neil Young, who was supposed to be this hippie who was fighting GMOs previously, went full on rage on Joe Rogan. Why? Because he got sucked into the propaganda. He got sucked into big pharmaceuticals. And now he completely blindsided people when he took his music off of Spotify, sold it off to a private equity firm or private investment firm in the UK. They bought all of his music, and then all of a sudden it returned to Spotify. So that was all complete crap. That was all complete crap based on Neil Young having a hissy fit with Joe Rogan because Neil Young is such a complete sellout. This idea that he's a folk singing hippie is a costume. It's a character, because Neil Young, the person, is a corporate shill. Is an absolute corporate shill. Here's another example. This is from today. Hey, my. Neil Young's Hawaiian home is ready to buy. Take a peek inside. Neil Young's tropical Hawaiian haven listed for $24.5 million. The home sits alongside 2 bays and includes a pool and 2 guest cottages. This Canadian folk rock icon that's going on stage and thinks he's supporting this country by saying Tesla and Elon Musk is a fascist. He's been living in Hawaii this whole time. He has a $24.5 million property estate. While majority of Canadians can't even afford property. Where's the song about that? Where's the song about all the people living in tents right now? But no, hate on people like Joe Rogan. Hate on people that are willing to examine things and tell you the truth about the propaganda and how you're being lied to by the corporate estate. Because Neil Young is dumb on purpose. He's dumb on purpose, and he's a complete coward sellout, which is the opposite of what a rock musician is supposed to be. As Nickelback would say, look at this photograph. Every time it makes me laugh. That's anytime I see Neil Young. And again, dressing like a hippie, that's part of the character. He's not an actual hippie. He doesn't actually care about anything. He just plays that character or his folk music for you to buy tickets, even though he's a corporate sellout. He's a complete sellout. So Roscoe Smith IV says, who know hippies would grow up to be so hateful, resentful, and intolerant? Fun fact, their kids are worse. Yeah, because they pass that on to their children, and then they become insufferable. That's called nepotism. And unfortunately, there's a lot of Nepo babies out there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of Nepo babies. And if anyone has a family, if anyone is thinking of having kids, let me tell you something. Raise them correctly. Make sure that they're critical. Make sure that, you know, you teach them right from wrong, but don't teach them to be the selfish, intolerable, celebrity-like influencer type. Because that is not going to succeed as a person. You are not going to succeed in human life if you continue to go down this route. And then underneath that, Unlimited L says the party of peace and love. Yeah. Neil Young. Neil Young with all of his folk songs about peace and love and all that stuff. Again, it's all crap. It's all part of a character. It's a stunt. Because Neil Young, the person, is insufferable. Neil Young is a hypocrite. Neil Young is a shill for the corporations. So why exactly people would go and pay money to hear him perform, thinking that he's some sort of rebel, looking like a hippie, saying Elon Musk's a fascist when he knows he's going to sell you out. So here's another thing also to point out. This is back in the 1980s. And people may not know about this, but we talked about this before when Neil Young was part of the newsphere. Neil Young criticized for making homophobic remarks during the AIDS crisis. 1980s interview resurfaces. So this originally came out in the Rolling Stone. When Neil Young, back in the 1980s, went to a grocery store during the AIDS crisis because he got propagandized, because he was watching mainstream media, because he got sucked in to the fear-mongering campaign, he threatened a grocery store attendant with homophobic remarks because he was lied to by the TV. The TV made him scared, and he projected onto an employee at a grocery store. Even though he had no idea about the AIDS crisis. Neil Young had no idea about the AIDS crisis. But because he was fear-mongered, he was propagandized and brainwashed, he projected that onto a grocery store attendant who was packing his bags, saying he didn't want his potatoes to be touched by someone afflicted by AIDS. He didn't want his potatoes touched by a certain, I don't want to say the word because YouTube would take it down, but you get it. That was Neil Young. That's Neil Young. That's the peace and love maker. That's the guy who poses himself as a hippie back in 1980, attacking a gay person at a grocery store. That's Neil Young for you. So again, I don't really understand all this hatred for Nickelback. I don't understand the hatred of them just performing, regardless of how you feel about that concert and the people attending. You can have your own opinion, but I don't understand the uproar of this. Compare this to Neil Young. Compare that to Neil Young. Compare that to U2 and Bono. That's another sellout there. Yeah, the guy that's supposed to be loving of kids and willing to reach out and is very charitable. His best friends are people like George Bush. George Bush, who annihilates children on the regular during his administration in the Middle East. But he talks in a sweet voice. He's from Ireland, and he's willing to reach out and support children's charities. So I gotta like him. I gotta like him. That's what the television tells me. That's what the critics are telling me. That's what experts in the music industry tell us. You have to love these people. Not because of their values, not because they actually stand on principle of anything, but because we're being told to promote these people. Whereas at least I could support someone like Alice Cooper, who serves food to homeless people in his restaurants. I could give at least credit to that. I can't give credit to Neil Young after all the shit that he's done to people. I'm not going to give credit to that. So him dressing as a hippie is not going to cover that. That's a charade. That's a character to lie to you, to sell his music, to sell you out.